people of the earth,
not descriptive, not informative, not interesting. Sounds are babbles on the surface of silence.
untrue, superstitious, supernatural. The civilized mind qualified many of the realities it does not understand untrue, superstitious, supernatural.
Truth and fact, naked and plain. A wise Dogon man used to say,
"To be naked is to be speechless."
Truth or fact.
the correct vibration. A body resonates to music as does a string. A music that elicits physical response and calls for mediated involvement. It does not simply play in such a way as not to impinge on the viewing.
An African man wrote,
Contrary to what some Westerners think, religion in Africa is not a cause for man's stagnation, nor a source of interterritorial conflicts. The more profound the believer the black man is, the more tolerant he proves to be. Wherever intolerance occurs in black territories, they are due to a cause introduced from the exterior.
The circumcised young men beat time with a walking stick while chanting.
they are holding in their hands femininity, water, and light.
Building as dwelling, on earth under the sky, before the divinities, among mortals, with things. They dwell in that they neither master the earth nor subjugate it. They leave to the sun and the moon their journey, and do not turn night into day. They do not make their gods for themselves, and do not worship idols. They initiate mortals into the nature of death. The circle is a form that characterizes the general plan of the house, the granaries, the court, the shrines, sometimes the rooms, the village, the tomb, the cemetery.
Life is round.
This is not a fact, not a data gathering.
Air, earth, water, light.
The four elements that explain the creation of men and women in African mythologies.
Earth-born and earth-bound, dusty gray-white bodies made out of clay, stark naked children. She made a hole and breathes air into it. A child is born.
The sun, the calabash, the court, the arching sky, everything round invites touch and caress. The circle is the perfect form.
You'll never spread doubt in their mind by convincing them of seeing yes when they already saw no, when all what they perceived was a hut or a mud shelter.
They went away the way they came.
For many of us, the hut is the taproot of the function of inhabiting. A universe inside and outside the universe. It possesses the felicity of intense poverty.
She said, man, woman, and child. Line, sun, star, calabash cover, turtle, big snake, fox, calabash, they help the plants to grow. You ask me, what is the use of these paintings? They help the plants to grow. They promote germination. Every illness is a musical problem. Music has a magical, energizing, and creative power. The mere shaking of a cowbell is enough to make people drift into a state of excitement. It is then said that strength has entered them. Elders who can hardly move in daily situation without a cane would emit war cries and dance frantically to the sound of music. Farmers who feel tired and lack enthusiasm will be fired with desire to work in the fields upon hearing the drum beats or the chants of the masks. Even if you have eaten and are full, a man said, you have no sustaining strength to plow the land vigorously and endure the hard work if no music flows in you.
Space. Even when close, I feel distance.
Whether a house is lively or not depends on the way it breathes. Houses and humans are both made out of small balls of earth.
Music rests on a chord between darkness and light.
Listen in the wind to the bush sobbing. It is our beloved dead's breathing. The dead are not dead. People of the earth, the reason two deer walk together is that one has to take the mote from the other's eye.
A sense of time, not only of hours and days, but also of decades and centuries. A sense of space as light and void.
Space has always reduced me to silence.
a space that speaks the mellowness of inner life. Scantily furnished, devoid of concealment or disguise, the truth appears so naked on my side that any purblind eye may find it out.
Wow, that was the Wow. This is what? Mohammed. Wow, شوف عنك عنك سيباني بتنا
A house that breathes, that encloses as well as opens wide onto the world.
We often took our own limits for those of the culture we looked at.
شوف ما تبغي؟ تبغي تمشي معه؟ الوقت تقسمنا نصحك يا العقل الأخوت نصحى الأخوت تمشي كانت والفقالت لك موت يا العقل الناسي لا تدور معاهد عناد لا تدور معاهد عنادك فيه الخاسرين أما شوف أما
All definitions are devices. color does not exist, being first and foremost a sensation. She would often sing while she worked, the air filled with her voice, the song scanned by her regular snifflings. First and foremost, a sensation.
Do you see the same color when the light is red? Colors can blind. Some grayness has to remain for clarity to be.
Nice colors are called shades. Red attracts and irritates, while bright yellow is bound to hurt. In places where the sun dazzles and where sandscapes prevail, people dress in blue, deep blue. Shades are soothing to the eye.
Color is life.
Light becoming music. She would often sing while she worked, the air filled with her voice.
Songs cure bodily pains, soothe the pangs of bereavement, calm anger, and cleanse the mind. To explain the scornful lower lip of the camel, more men have this to say. The prophet has 100 names. Men know 99 of them, but only the camel knows the 100th one, hence its superior marabou-like expression. They help the plants to grow. They promote germination.
A long wail tore through the air. Blue-veiled figures. She sailed down the alley, her indigo-blue garments flowing behind her.
As if for centuries she sat there, instinctively veiling her face as the men came in, unveiling it as soon as they left. Being truthful, being in the in-between of all definitions of truth. There was much covert peeping through the veils as we walked around, looking carefully at the rooms and their details. Caught each other looking. She laughed and I laughed. Soon all the women in the court were laughing together.
The earth is blue like an orange.
La terre est bleue comme une orange. Jamais une erreur, les mots ne mentent pas.
Sky, earth, sea, sun, air, earth, water, light. Outside is as bare as inside is ornate.
For 15 minutes we stood in the street, slightly off the house door, waiting until we were allowed in. Time for the men to inform the women to go back to their rooms and stay in there all the time while the visitors were present. How can you explain this excitement to live in an old house, one that ages with the imprints of previous lives?
The severe aspect of the exterior often stands in contrast with the exuberant decorations of the interior.
She steps into my room abruptly and stood there staring at me intently. I stare back at her questioningly, but she remained silent. For a long time we stared at each other without a word. There was more fear in her eyes than curiosity. She turned away a few seconds, then looked back straight into my eyes and said, "Oil. I want some oil for cooking." Walked down the empty, narrow streets, and thought for a while I was truly alone. I was soon to discover blinded walls had eyes. Gigglings and laughters spurted out around me as I stopped and looked carefully at the faces that swiftly appear and disappear from the discreet openings on the walls, or above me from the terrace roofs of the houses. Women, unveiled, mostly young, all shared the look of intense curiosity. The world is round, around the round being.
Religion is living without conflict.
Entering the womb of the earth, sheltered from heat and sun, from rain and wind, from all other living creatures.
The earth is round. We all know that. No part is longer than the other. When we enter the mouth.
The door.
When we exit, we step out onto a large calabash.
The court.
We call it the vault of heaven.
The house opens onto the sky in a perfect circle. Rhythms are built into the way people relate to each other.
We call ourselves Batamariba, the people who create well with earth, the people who are builders.
The designers, the architects. Tribute to the dead.
We say the placement of the house is that which is important. A house is beautiful when its back is not coming out. Not too high, not too low, not too far outside nor too far inside. His house is really smooth. He knows how to build. He does not leave his finger marks.
The house has cosmos.
The ground level of the house interior is the underworld, the terrace level is the earth, and the granary's upper level is the sky. Granaries elevated on the front facade make the house look well.
The cosmic house is both cell and world. Each dweller inhabits the universe, while the universe inhabits her space.
dark and cool, red like the sun. Untrue, superstitious, supernatural. As the sun descends, its rays enter the cattle room and touch the ancestors, speaking to them while they ask for health and protection of the family.
The Tamberma house is a sanctuary.
These mounds are for the sun, for the reproduction of human beings and the expansion of the family. The horns of the entrance and the mounds are the focus for sun ceremonies.
Upon entering, we stepped into a somber central room, where I could smell and hear a cow munching on my left. We then climbed up to the tiny oval kitchen, lit by the soft morning light that came in from the upper portal leading to the terrace roof of the house.
She who wears an antelope headdress is said to portray the deceased's daughter. Third act for a funeral drama. Funeral performances are referred to as plays, the house of the deceased being the stage, a group of skillful performers the actors, and the villagers in attendance, the critical audience. Drums, flutes, and horns are the voices of the ancestors.
Sun's house is a circle. This is what we've been told. Sun protects us all. Like mother, it brings out children. Like father, it has wives, the earth, and the moon. It is beautiful because his fingers leave lines and his lines are visible. If the woman plasters the walls such that from far away you don't see the different levels, we say the house is beautiful.
The egg-shaped granaries are raised above the terrace at the house front corners, closest to the sky, their opening facing the sky god, who provides rain for the grain.
When you climb it, it leads you to the sky. The sky is like a tree. It is formed from the branches of a huge tree. People of the earth, the more profound a believer the black man is, the more tolerant he proves to be.
In one of the rites of initiation, during which a man is born again in his community, the initiate has to go naked, his body painted with red earth, color of the newly born.
A village that neglects music and dancing is a dead village.
Red, a warm, limitless color that often acts as a sign of life. Black, an absence of light, of sun, therefore of life, color.
In many parts of the world, white is the color of mourning.
Truth or fact, poetry or history.
Poetry becomes only poetry when I become adept at consuming truth as fact. The house, like a woman, must have secret parts to inspire desire.
Unadorned, she is not desirable. Adornment excites love. If there is a connection between ornaments and love, that is because the first ornaments of all were in the center jar of the celestial granary, and that jar is a symbol of the world's womb.
In certain societies where sounds have become letters with sharps and flats, Those unfortunate enough not to fit into these letters are tossed out of the system and qualified unmusical. They are called noises.
It is known that one of the primary tasks of ethnomusicologists is to study what traditional societies consider music and what they reject as non-music.
A music bound up with movement, dance and speech, one in which the listener becomes a co-performer, one that has no overall form, except one of continually recurring sequences of notes and rhythms, one that plays endlessly.
For nobody has enough of life,
has been repeatedly called elemental or rudimentary, is irritable to most Westerners' ears. The sound of a swelling cry of ululation, that high wail that speaks her joy, excitement, or grief.
I am inhabited by a cry. Joy, sorrow, anger, it curls out, sharp and vivid in the night. Inhumanly human, the cry I hear, she said, is from the other side of life.
Deeper insight always entails moments of blindness.
Step into the footmarks of your ancestors. Tradition may weaken, but cannot disappear.
A Dogon prayer.
Scale is an element to impress, to dominate, or to speak up a mutual vulnerability. A journey in these villages may have a cathartic effect, for a man seeing a 100-story building often gets conceited. There is also a way of viewing nature as a challenge to man's conquest, therefore of seeing in the smallness of man and woman a need for improvement.
Ogo, the first who stood against God Amma,
and introduced psychological diversification in the universe,
was transformed into a fox and thus reduced to speaking only with its paws on the divination tables.
The figures are drawn on the smoothed sand by the diviners before sunset. The fox which comes out at night is lured onto the tables by means of peanuts which the diviners have carefully scattered over them. The next day, the diviners will come back to the site after sunrise to read the traces left by the fox. Their interpretations vary according to the latter's itinerary, whose imprints may join, border, or avoid the figures. The divination table is the earth, turning under the action of the fox's legs.
The divination table is the earth turning under the action of the fox's legs.
How very much content am I to lie low, to cling to the soil, to be of kin to the sod. My soul squirms comfortably in the soil and sand and is happy. Sometimes when one is drunk with this earth, one's spirit seems so light that one is in heaven. But actually one seldom rises 6 feet above the ground.
When you climb it, it leads you to the sky. The sky is like a tree. It is formed from the branches of a huge tree. Togona, the mother's shelter, the house of words, or the men's house, is a reference point for every Dogon village. The life force of the earth is water.
The remaining facade of a large house with its 80 niches, home of the ancestors.
Reality and truth, neither relative nor absolute. I can't take hold of it nor lose it. When I am silent, it projects. When I project, it is silent.
The calabash is a symbol of woman and the sun, who is female. Signs are things that move about in the world. Signs are the things of all men and women.
11,616 signs express and indicate all things and beings of the universe, as well as all possible situations seen by the Dogon men.
Each sign opens onto other signs. Each sign contains in itself a summary of the whole. And the drop is the very ocean.
The Dogon house is said to be a model of the universe at a smaller scale and to symbolize man, woman, and their union. The central room, the storerooms on each side, and the back room with the hearth represent the woman lying on her back with outstretched arms, ready for intercourse as the communicating door stays open. The ceiling of the central room is the man and its beams, his skeleton. The woman and the man's breath finds its outlet through the opening on the roof. Listen to the ancestors breathing in the wind, the fire, the water. Those who are dead, who are never gone, who are not under the ground, who are not dead. They are there, in the house, in the crowd, in a woman's breast, in a child's cry, in the stones, trees, grass, in the dark that lightens, in the dark that deepens, in the fire that warms, burns, and destroys, in the water that flows, in the water that stagnates. The dead are not dead. The ancestors' room.
Spider webs and dust have aged with them.
Bathed in the sunlight, one after the other they took turn to speak to the sun, keeping in touch with it from dawn to dusk. One after the other, they took turn to speak to the sun, keeping in touch with it from dawn to dusk.
The sun touches them as they ask for health and protection of the family.
It is beautiful because when you enter, you see there where the sun penetrates, where there is light and the rest is dark.
Houses with a sculptured head on the roof are said to belong to hunters.
The supernatural,
term widely used in pro-scientific milieu,
is an anti-scientific invention of the West.
a wise African man observed. The diagnostic power of a fact-oriented language.
The sky is a calabash. The water jar is a woman's womb.
Blindness occurs precisely during the short moment of adjustment, when from full sun we step into the dim inside. Abrupt transition from bright to dark for a change. To advance, we must go sightless, time to cross an immaterial threshold that links the social to the personal. The dead are not dead when night constantly floats in certain parts of the house. It never appears to me in its totality. Here a small round hole, there a carved ladder leading up to the source of light, a wall, another wall, a bench, a straw mat, a water jar, a long dark room ending in several nest-like spaces. The whole thing is scattered about inside me. I can only see it in fragmentary form.
An act of light lets day and night, makes far nearer and near farther. Why is it so dark?
Everything is at the same time transparent and opaque. Irreducibly complex in its simplicity.
Not really a dwelling or a living space, as an observer said, because of the overall absence of windows. See our own idiosyncrasies as other people's natures. When men go hunting in parties, they know the rules of precedence. They know him who is higher than another. They understand when one says, "I speak, you remain silent." There are dangerous things in the bush, and a small quarrel may bring many arrows. Before the hunters set forth, they were told this by the man in charge of the hunting parties.
If we meet a lion, let it be like cold water. If we meet a leopard, let it be like cold water. If we meet a snake, let it be like cold water. But if a man wishes to quarrel while out hunting, let him get headache and bellyache so that he may have to return home.
An anthropological shot one that turns people into human species.
Both ancestors and children are builders up of a compound. When a man dies, his son, upon sacrificing a sheep, will ask this man to join his father and grandfather in guarding the house properly. When a man has no children, he is sometimes laughed at and told, "What are you? If you were to die, they would break down your house and plant tobacco in it."
Color is life.
A light without shadow generates an emotion without reserve. Entering and exiting as love-making. The door remains open, for a house with a door closed is an infertile house.
It is by way of the household that the rays of the noon sun enter into the house to look at the family and speak with them. Family eats around it. The food cooked and spilled while eating are so much offered to the sun. Women give birth under it to secure the sun's blessings.
The house, like a woman, must have secret parts to inspire desire.
The womb image of the house, the nest-like powers of curves.
Floating around in these dark spaces is the subtle smell of clay, earth, and straw.
There is a saying that a man should not see all the dark corners of another's house. If life be called the lifeblood of a space, darkness could be called its soul.
Colour is first and foremost a sensation.
The house's eye, it looks out and sees like a woman.
A male is buried facing east. a female facing west.
A man faces eastward that he may know when to rise and hunt. A woman looks to the west that she may know when to prepare her husband's food. The world is round.
Are you seeing it, hearing it, or projecting it?
Unadorned, she is not desirable. Adornment excites love. If there is a connection between ornaments and love, that is because the first ornaments of all were in the center jar of the celestial granary, and that jar is the symbol of the world's womb.
The earth is an overturned calabash. For the death of a man or a woman, the priest sprinkles in the air earth taken from the center of the circle formed by the calabash while making a circle around the house.
Here, patience is one of the first rules of education.
Orange and blue, warmer or colder, more luminosity, more presence. Timing acts as a link between natural and artificial light.
The earth is blue like an orange.
You can't take hold of it, but you can't lose it.
So please let the smoke go and let the seed die to its outer shell.
Be a stranger to myself. No matter what we call it, we will miss it. Relieved of so many words, we went naked.
Objects in her surrounding. The naming of spaces rarely refers to their function. It refers instead to the various parts of the human body.
The house is composed like the human body. The earth or clay is the flesh, the water, the blood, the stones, the bones, and the plastered surface of the walls, the skin. Sun rolling in space, the bobbing which is wound off in spinning is the sun rolling in space.
They call it giving.
We call it self-gratification.
We call it self-gratification.
They call it give and take.
We call it take and take.
We call it take and take.
They call it generosity.
We call it conditioning the beggar's mind.
We call it conditioning the beggar's mind.
Today, to survive, the poor can hardly refuse to accept.
They say they don't give anymore.
Because we are ungrateful.
The ungrateful acceptor.
The expecting donor.
They say they don't give anymore because we are ungrateful. We ponder, will the donor species survive?
We substitute expectation for hope and easily speak about falling short of or failing to come up to our expectations. Strategies of rupture and incorrectness need some airing.
A cloud of oratorical precaution. Fear.
Fear of making out of a crystallized eye. Any expectation, even that of peace, brings restlessness.
Question and answer. A mutual deception.
Life on the water. Never can one walk home and feel the contact of solid, secure ground. Floating, flowing constantly, the house suspended between water and sky.
What they name generosity.
Arrogance.
A mutual deception.
You should be able to accept with simplicity.
Simply accept.
From we, us, who are neither a source of authority nor a seal of authenticity. They see no life when they look. They see only objects. The dead are not dead.
Humble enough to accept without trying to return. Be a stranger to myself, and a drop is the ocean.
The earth is blue like an orange.
An instant's freezing, to be lived directly. Silence.
People having faith in each other.
Void is always capable of being filled by solid. And I look at the myriad of reflections, the entire lake within me, unable to quench it, quench an endless thirst. The charm of its nudity lights up our desire for both retreat and expansion. The more naked the space, the more it fires my imagination. Blue like an orange, and orange becomes blue. Earth becomes sun. Sun becomes water. Water becomes sky. And blue becomes orange like the earth.
The circle is the spirit in eternal motion.
While giving, there is no thought of giving. While accepting, there is no thought of accepting. Who could ever think of the gift as a gift that takes? Going beyond logic to experience what is large in what is small. Clear, simple, irreducibly complex in its simplicity.
To build out of dwelling. A philosopher observed that man's homelessness consists in this, that man still does not even think of the real plight of dwelling as the plight. We dwell altogether unpoetically, but dwelling can be unpoetic only because it is in essence poetic. Have you seen such a look in a child's face? Such a look a sunlit smile that sticks in your eyes.
spirit in eternal motion.
For many foreign observers, these people have no notion whatsoever of the private garden. This is hardly surprising. There is no point in fencing off a piece of land as one's own. Their houses are situated such that wherever they wander, they own the entire landscape. The earth is an overturned calabash.
They are holding in their hands femininity, water, and light. People of the earth,
those whose serenity of understanding is the despair of bigger men.
the reason two deer walk together is that one has to take the mote from the other's eye. Life with its rhythms and cycles is dance, and dance is life.
Roof in the shape of a funnel. The Diola people, renowned for having raised a fierce armed resistance to the French colonial administration at the start of the century. For the one who travels in this restfully green part of Senegal today, the Casamance, the dreamland of research workers and tourists alike, it is quite difficult to imagine no foreigner had dared to venture here without an armed escort a few decades ago.
Light, air, water, earth, woman, palm leaf, dust, children.
Space has always reduced me to silence.
They can't really afford this, they said, but bought it anyway, flew to Africa and waited with an anguished excitement for the page shock of exoticism.
A Jola proverb says, "Those who are proud of their nudity will be insolent once clothed."
This is not a fact.
Light, air, water, people, sound.
The impluvium, a house built around an inner court, with an inwardly inclined roof, and, as some said, a tank to catch rainwater. Some call it the Senegalese Florida, ideal for the visitor who hungers for tropical adventures made to measure.
A life-generating power.
A house without a fence is not a house, the old man says.
An earthen castle, according to a tourist guidebook. A place for communion, sharing. A sun chapel.
They took turn to speak to the sun, keeping in touch with it from dawn to dusk. The dead are often buried in their own rooms, which will remain locked forever. The room will crumble with time on the grave.
Infinitely secure in its nudity.
Insecure in its infiniteness.
A damaged house is a damaged family. Very often, family and house bear the same name.
Femininity, water and light. an interior court, a time clock, a sun chapel, a reserve of air, light, water.
Each woman prepares her own meal. Each household has its own hearth located all round the court under the circular covered gallery.
A pit, a tank for catching rainwater. A place for reunion. A place for rest and conversation.
Music rests on a chord between darkness and light.
Every religion is based on a lie device. All methods may be viewed as lies. At best, they create a situation. Rhythm creates a storage of energy.
Eager for an indigenous answer, someone walked around asking, "What is music?" People would look at him as if he had said something funny or strange. They would laugh and say, "Don't you know?"
A dance that does not attract many villagers and foreigners from afar is said to turn out badly, for the spirits have not come to attend it.
The animation of a dance is the sign of the spirit's presence. Dance and music form a dialogue between movement and sound. One who hears the music understands it with a dance. The dancers do not imitate or express the music heard. They converse with it and dance to the gaps in it, both marked and unmarked beats. A different beat, one that is not there, one that you add because you feel it and fit it in. Your own beat. Your own move. Your own reading. It usually signals a rest and has long been forgotten as a wind instrument.
The whistle here is a musical cue for change.
Dramatic action is stimulated by the flute, horn, whistle and bell players, who do not form part of the drum ensemble. They wander around the circle of dancers, blowing, striking a few notes on their instrument to urge them on.
drummer explains that one should not breathe too strongly while performing if one does not want to miss the rhythmic formulas and to get tired too quickly. One should take in reserves of air during the pauses between each dance.
Every illness is a musical problem.
My wrist is fast. That is not drumming. As you are beating, it is your heart that is talking. And what your heart is going to say, your hand will collect and play. And unless you cool your heart, your drumming will not stand. When your heart cools, your arm will cool too. And as you are bringing your strength, you will also be leaving it. At that time, the drum will cry well. The one who has learned to play well can beat a drum, and the sound will spread out, and you will hear it vibrating inside the ground. But the one whose heart gets up and he is beating hard, his drum will not sound. Drumming has no end, the drummer said. No one can know everything about drumming. Everyone knows only to his extent. If you know everything, what are you going to do and know it? In our drumming way, no one blames another. If someone doesn't know, you don't say, "This man doesn't know." If you say that, you have demeaned yourself. Maybe as you say you know, someone too knows better than you. And as you are bending down, looking at someone's anus, someone is also bending down, looking at yours.